Search for us on social media. We're on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. I think it's time. It's time to mix it up.
Hey, dumbass.
Oh, me?
Use your smartphone and download our free iPhone and Android app to take us with you.
Okay. Can you please get off my lawn?
Located in an underground bunker somewhere in Madison, Indiana, is a different kind of podcast. Welcome to Loudmouth with your host, Dean Stidham.
Hey, everyone. Welcome to Loudmouth. I believe we have a great show online for you today. Got a lot of things I want to talk about. We do have some cuts we're going to mix in. Some of these cuts are a little lengthy, so please bear with me on that. We'll be taking phone calls. The number will be area code 812-493-3236 if you want to join me. First of all, what I want to talk about is 35% of pork and beef. Well, it's not being produced right now, and this is along with thousands of gallons of milk being wasted. Now, this is going to affect all of us possibly at the supermarket. And, well, this is all due to plants being closed due to the COVID-19. Now, I was sent a clip from Sherry. Also, a few of the others of you sent me the same clip. And there's a little bit of wind background in the background of this gentleman, but he has some really important information. We'll give you a website on the backside. And we'll also hear what our president has to say. Take a listen to this.
Hey, everybody. This is Shad Sullivan coming to you from the headwaters of Bitter Creek, Archer County, North Texas. We have to talk. State officials will be assisting to help identify potential alternative markets if a producer is unable to move animals and, if necessary, advise and assist on depopulation and disposal methods. Ladies and gentlemen, we are plowing under vegetable crops from coast to coast. We are euthanizing millions of chickens. We are aborting sows and burying feeder pigs. We are dumping milk by the hundreds of thousands of gallons, and now they are preparing us to depopulate the fat cattle ready to harvest because of a bottleneck created by the effects of COVID. This thing hasn't been created by COVID, but the effects of COVID and the logistics therein. We are in trouble. Our food supply is in trouble, and I am appealing to producers and consumers across the nation to start calling. Yesterday, the first shipment of imported beef from the country of Namibia hit the shores of the United States of America. And yet this morning, they are telling us to prepare to euthanize harvest-ready cattle. Am I the only one that sees a problem in this? It is time we get the American people back to work. It is time we get money flowing. It is time we get food on the shelves. Because if you're not concerned about this food supply problem, you better be. We have a huge supply and demand of food across this nation. We can feed the world ourselves, and yet we're destroying our harvests. At the same time, we are importing beef from other countries, beef that is less regulated than our beef, less safe, not as high quality of product, and yet it's happening. At the same time, they are preparing for us to euthanize our harvests. Does that make sense to America? For the last 10 years, we have been pressed to be sustainable. I've said all along, sustainability is a fraud. And right now, we're being forced to destroy our harvests. That doesn't sound like sustainability to me, but it is part of the overall goal to vertically integrate your food system. You see, they cannot have control of the people unless they have control of the food, the water, the land, production. It is time we get back to work. It is time the American people force the government to listen to us. We are of, by, and for the people. This is not Nancy Pelosi's country. This is not Donald Trump's country. This is your country, and you're going to go hungry. We must get regional and local packing houses up and going. Do we have to have those big packing plants? You bet we do, and they need to be running right now. We need help. You as a consumer are in trouble. My dad told me years ago the best thing that would happen to America is if everybody had to sit in the dark, cold, and hungry, and that would wake them up. Well, I think it's coming. We're in a dangerous position, ladies and gentlemen. We need to get inspectors into these small plants. We need to get better inspectors. We need to get going on this today, not tomorrow, today. You need to be calling your legislators. We need to be opening up the country. Your food supply is in danger. Ranchers are going broke every day. We're doing all we can to stay here. We are in crisis in America. This is a crisis. This is a national crisis. And everybody's just sitting back enjoying their time off, enjoying that $1,200, not knowing that overnight you're going to go hungry. It's coming. Ladies and gentlemen, we need your help. We need your help today. Everybody, all hands on deck. It's time. We need you to go to demandUSAbeef.com, sign the petition for country of origin labeling. People want to know where their food comes from. I don't want any beef out of Namibia. I don't want any beef out of Brazil. I want my own beef. I'm blessed to be able to eat my own beef, but a lot of you aren't, and you need the freedom to choose your product. Demand mandatory country of origin labeling. Demand that these people get back to work. Where have our patriots gone? Where are you? I ask you that today. This thing's going to be incredibly tough overnight. It's already tough.
This is a very interesting point this gentleman raises. I'd like to thank Sherry for sending me this link. I've also had quite a few of you send me this link as well. And we're going to have more on this story and let you know a little bit more of what's going on. And we'll do that right after this word.
Anyone who has cancer or has a family member with cancer is surely wondering how COVID-19 is affecting treatments now. The bottom line is we're still here for you, from diagnosis and workups to the treatment itself. No matter what stage of disease you're going through, we're here. In-clinic visits and treatments are still happening. We can connect you with experts who will guide you through evaluation and treatment decisions during this time. For specific information on steps cancer patients can take to protect themselves, visit geisinger.org/cancer. I encourage patients with questions about COVID-19 to call our nurse triage line at 570-284-3657. COVID-19 shouldn't stop anyone from getting the care they need to fight cancer.
A couple of quick notes here real quick. We're going to do 2 shows. I'm actually due to go live on Facebook at 5 o'clock. This is on YouTube. We will not be taking any calls on YouTube due to the fact this is not live right now. Running sort of a trial test. I would love to be able to do that. I'd love to be able to simulcast on both. It can be done, but I'm working on that. But we will be going live on Facebook for those of you who might listen or watch this a little bit later on in YouTube. Real quick, we did want to mention that website again. If you'd like to go to that, it is demandbeef.com. And I've already been there and signed up. But there is some interesting news. I believe the president's going to sign an executive order, and he had a word or two to say on that a little bit earlier this afternoon.
Mr. President, on the food supply chain, is there anything your administration is doing or might be doing in the future to make sure that there's enough meat supplies?
We're working with Tyson.
Exports
We're going to sign an executive order today, I believe, And that'll solve any liability problems where they had certain liability problems, and we'll be in very good shape. We're working with Tyson, which is one of the big companies in that world. And we always work with the farmers. There's plenty of supply. There's plenty of, as you know, there's plenty of supply. It's distribution, and we will probably have that today solved. It was a very unique circumstance because of liability.
Can you tell us more details on the executive order regarding the meat supply? So it seems like the issue right now is that with the processing plants closed down, there are all these animals, but they can't be processed into meat to hit American
We're handling it probably today. We'll have that. It's a roadblock. It's sort of a legal roadblock more than anything else. We'll have that done today. You can speak to the chief in a little while if you'd like. Okay. They'll give you a specific. I don't know if you'd like that because there won't be any cameras running. But if you'd like to get a real answer, you could speak to the chief.
He's always got to get that last little cut in there, doesn't he? You know, cameras running, but you can talk to him if you want. Also, I want to talk about testing. You know, all everybody wants to talk about is we got to get testing done. We got to get testing done. And, you know, there again, in all honesty, I'm not out in the public. I'm not out there with my brothers and sisters anymore dealing with this firsthand. But I just don't get the testing. But for whatever it's worth, they're saying, let's see here, by the end of May, and they should be able to test a bunch of more. And let's see what else I've got here. The test, the thing with me about the whole testing thing is it just, you could be tested today and test negative and then come in contact with somebody Thursday and then have it. Now, if there's a test to see if you have the antibodies in your system, I get it. I understand that. And maybe I'm confused. I don't know. There's so many different conflicts out there and so many different people saying this and that. Now, something else I thought was interesting. In April, 22% of the people who died from the COVID virus, well, they were nursing home patients. So most nursing home patients, not all, but most, have underlying conditions. And most of us know that. Now, at the airing of this show, let's see, we were up to 58,529 deaths. And let's see here. What else is a little bit upsetting is a lot of the doctors disagree with Dr. Fauci. And, well, they're slammed down by Dr. Fauci. And the reason I mention this is a little bit of a lengthy cut, but I think this is something you really need to listen to. This is from the Tucker Carlson show. Listen to this and let me know what you think. This is really some interesting stuff.
On this show, we played you a clip from a nearly hour-long video produced by two physicians in California, Doctors Dan Erickson and Artin Masihi. Likely many of you had already seen it. That video has had more than 5 million views on YouTube. In their presentation, the two doctors presented a flurry of data pointing to what we are currently learning about this virus and how it spreads. They recited pages of government statistics and then interpreted them in light of their own long clinical experience as doctors. At one point, they noted that the newly adjusted death rate in their state of California, which is much lower than anyone expected it to be, and they asked if government officials there should change their policies based on this new science. Watch.
We've seen 1,227 deaths in the state of California with a possible incidence or prevalence of 4.7 million. That means you have a 0.03 chance of dying from COVID-19 in the state of California. 0.03 chance of dying from COVID in the state of California. Does that necessitate sheltering in place? Does that necessitate shutting down medical systems? Does that necessitate people being out of work?
So whatever your view of the mass quarantines, and maybe you're enthusiastically for them, the questions you just heard are valid questions. In fact, they're critical questions. We should all be asking those questions, including and especially our policymakers. But as Dr. Erickson pointed out later in the video, dissent of any kind is no longer tolerated in this country. Fact-based honesty, which is the soul of science, is under attack, even in hospitals. Dr. Erickson described physicians being pressured to classify illnesses and deaths as related to coronavirus, whether they believe that to be true or not.
We aren't pressured to test for flu, but ER doctors now, my friends that I talk to say, you know, it's interesting, when I'm writing up my death report, I'm being pressured to add COVID. Why is that? Why are we being pressured to add COVID to maybe increase the numbers and make it look a little bit worse than it is? I think so.
So what you just heard, what Dr. Erickson described, is called lying. And lying has no place in science ever. It's scary to think it takes place on a large scale in hospitals. He says it does. Viewers of Erickson's video were shocked and transfixed by this. They forwarded the video to friends who forwarded it on to their friends. And suddenly, millions of people who have spent the last 6 weeks on a diet of Tiger King and internet memes were watching sober-minded medical researchers reading from charts of statistics. It's hard to recall a science video taking off like this one did. Not everyone was impressed by it. Some criticized the doctor's policy conclusions. And of course, that's fair. Decent people have different opinions. We're not entirely certain what the perfect response to this pandemic is. Nobody is certain. There's no objective answer at the moment. At best, we can plod along with open minds and good faith. More informed debate is exactly what we need to make wise decisions going forward. Unfortunately for all of us, informed debate is exactly what the authorities don't want. They want unquestioned obedience, so they're cracking down. Last night, the doctor's video, the one you just saw, was pulled off of YouTube, the largest video hosting site in the world. It wasn't an accident. YouTube admitted doing it. The company cited a violation of, quote, community guidelines, and they did not apologize. Looking back, when all of this is finally over, and it will be, it's likely that we'll see this moment, what YouTube just did, as a turning point in the way we live in this country, a sharp break with 250 years of law and custom. The two doctors' video was produced by a local television channel in California. It was, in effect, a mainstream news story. The video was not pornographic. It didn't violate copyright or incite violence or commit libel. It didn't break any law. The only justification for taking it down was that the two physicians on screen had reached different conclusions from the people currently in charge. It was a form of dissent from orthodoxy. YouTube and its parent company, Google, have now officially banned dissent. The CEO of YouTube admitted that openly.
But then we also talk about removing information that is problematic. You know, of course, anything that is medically unsubstantiated. So people saying like, take vitamin C, take turmeric, like those are all will cure you. Those are the examples of things that would be a violation of our policy. Anything that would go against World Health Organization recommendations would be a violation of our policy. And so remove is another really important part of our policy.
So you're not just putting the truth next to the lie, you're taking the lie down. That's a pretty aggressive approach.
We're removing, quote, anything that would go against World Health Organization recommendations. It'll now be taken off the internet. Consider that for a minute. As a matter just of science, it's ludicrous. Like everyone else involved in global pandemic policy, the WHO has often been wrong in its recommendations. A lot of people have. In mid-January, WHO told us that coronavirus could not spread from person to person. In March, they told us that face masks didn't work. Those were lies, and they were welcome on Google's platforms. Doctors who were actually treating patients with the virus, meanwhile, have just been banned. So no, this is not about science. Censorship never is about science. It's about power. Big technology companies are using this tragedy to increase their power over the American population. They're working in concert with politicians in order to do it. Just today, Facebook removed an events page for a political protest in Michigan. Governor Gretchen Whitmer, who runs that state, was no doubt pleased to see it. Grossly mismanaging an entire state is a lot easier when citizens are not allowed to complain about it, and now they're not. Last week, Facebook founder Mark Zuckerberg explained that protests like these are no longer protected political speech. They're, quote, misinformation.
How do you deal with the fact that Facebook is now being used to organize a lot of these protests to defy social distancing, defy the social distancing guidelines in states? Is somebody trying to organize something like that, does that qualify as harmful information?
We do classify that as harmful misinformation, and we take that down.
And there you go. Unbelievable. And, I'm using YouTube right now, and it's a great opportunity to get our word out. And I'll be using Facebook here in just a little bit. What I air doesn't mean that I agree with everything that's being said, but it'll be interesting to see if this gets taken down. I did see the interview with the two doctors. I also caught part of it on the Laura Ingraham show. I tried to get clips, and it's gone. It's hard to find. And And these two doctors were upfront with it. They shared their honest opinion, and there you go. It's like if you don't get along with the big wig, excuse me, then you get all shut down. I just thought it was something you really, really might want to listen to. Also, I get a lot of comments about, you're always on the right, you're always up for Trump, you're always up for this. Well, I lean towards Trump. I will probably be voting for Trump in the next election. But with that being said, I did find a Obama clip that I thought some of my friends on the left might like. And there again, I want to go on record saying I didn't agree with 99.9% of President Obama's policies. But with that being said, I would have loved to sit down and, being a simple person I am, real simple, had a drink with him. I think the man has charisma, very charismatic. But and this will give you an idea of why so many people thought he was. Take a listen to this.
The interesting thing that happens when you're president, or when you go through the experience of being president. So you start off, you're a community organizer and you're struggling to try to get people to recognize each other's common interests. And, you're trying to get some project done in a small community. And you start thinking, okay, you know what? This alderman's a knucklehead and, they're resistant to doing the right thing. And so I need to get more knowledge, more power, more influence so that I can really have an impact. And so you go to the state legislature and you look around and you say, well, these jamokes, not all of them, but I'm just saying, you start getting that sense of, this is just like dealing with the alderman, right? So no, I got to do something different. So then you go to the U.S. Senate and you're looking around and you're like, oh man. And then when you're president, you're sitting in these international meetings and it's like the G20 and you got all these world leaders and it's the same people, which is really interesting. Same dynamics, it's just that there's a bigger spotlight, there's a bigger stage, but I'm only partly joking about that. The nature of human dynamics does not change from level to level, which is why I've been quoted saying this sometimes, like most of what you need to learn, you can actually just read Dr. Seuss, right? Because, there's the story of the Sneetches and like people, the Sneetches have, the ones with stars think they're better than the ones who don't have stars and they got an attitude. And then, there's the Lorax who's trying to tell people, hey, don't cut down the trees because then the fish are going to die, right? I mean, it's all pretty much there. And the reason, the way power works at every level, at the United Nations or in your neighborhood, is do you have a community that stands behind what you stand for? And if you do, you'll have more power. And if you don't, you won't.
I think that makes a lot of sense. Sort of what we were talking about the other day. It's all about perspective. And if you go against the man, he's probably going to come down on you pretty hard. Just like we talked about, we're all in the storm together. Well, we might all be in the storm together, but to be honest, some of us probably are in canoes and some of us are probably in power boats. And even a lot of us are probably in yachts. When I say us, I'm in that canoe. Real quick, I did want to let you know, we were going to talk about Unfreedom of the Press. Great, great book by Mark Levin. I'm running out of time here. We'll try to get that in another show. If you want to know what he thinks about the press and why he thinks it, that's a great, great read. He is a constitutional lawyer. Mark Levin, a very sharp guy. Also wanted to mention we have some great guests coming up next month. Tracy Maxfield, she's an advocate and an educator as well. She's going to talk about bullying and social media and what's going on with our young people. And also Lorna Adams, looking forward to that. She's a psychic, and she's going to tell us what people are saying on the other side. You want to make sure and check those out. We also have other guests. We'll talk about that as well. In the meantime, I want to thank each and every one of you, excuse me, for listening in today. But at this time, I want to take things down just a little bit. We all talk, we all argue, we all fight, we all laugh. And life is precious, and nobody is downplaying this COVID-19. I'm sure not. With my recent illness, if I contacted it, it would probably be curtains for me. And I'll come to terms with that. The reason I say this is I lost, I didn't actually, but two friends of mine, two acquaintances, lost family members earlier this month. And when you think back, you think you remember the good times. I'm talking about Wayne Edwards and Angie. And Wayne I worked with as actual partner for a short time. We had some fun. We had a lot of laughs. And Wayne also had a partner named Dan. And I never asked Wayne this, but I remember Wayne used to say, "Come on, Billy, let's go." It was always Billy. And it means nothing to you, but it was funny to me. I knew his son Aaron for a short time. And I believe Aaron is in a better place. Doesn't help probably Wayne and Angie right now, but I know they're both Christians. And I know God wants strong people, and he's got two strong ones there. Wayne, Angie, our thoughts are with you, as well as our prayers. Also, I want to say a word about Don Royce. I knew Don personally when I first went to work at King's Daughters Hospital. Don was one of the first people I met. We used to sit downstairs in the dining room, and we would smoke cigarettes and share and swap stories. I got to know him, but actually, I got to know his son Jamie real well too. But anyway, two families that are mourning right now, and I know Jamie thought a lot of his dad, and I know Jamie was the apple of his dad's eye as well. Anyway, I just want to say that our prayers and thoughts are with those, and our prayers and thoughts are with any of you out there who's lost a loved one recently. That's going to do it for this edition of Loudmouth. My name's Dean. Everyone, please stay safe, and God bless you all.